if we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm gonna get washed in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
Jake Juan Carlos, bring it up. The net barely moved for Carlos. Skip pass cross court. Starling wants three. Give him three. Big shot there. Timeout.
Catch SU Hoops on TK99 and ESPN AM 1200. WTLA North Syracuse, WSGO Oswego, W249BC Mattydale, W261AC Oswego, WTKW HD2 Bridgeport, ESPN Radio. This is the Burdick Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
Oh, that it is. Welcome in on this game day Saturday afternoon. We're normally an hour away from tip today because, you know, the CW is weird. We're an hour and 15 away from tip. 3:15 scheduled tip time in the Dome today. We'll take you up close-ish to tip off today. We'll be with you over the course of the next hour. Brian Higgins with you here on our Burdick pregame coverage. Phone lines open throughout our hour together here. If you'd like to chat before the start of the game at 315-437-7644. Always welcome to chime in on that number. You know, wherever we're doing. We got a little Red Autry we'll play back for you. That was his weekly visit with Orange Nation the other day. Still unanswered questions hanging out there about the never-ending Donnie Freeman saga. My guess is essentially, when will they declare him out for the season? Will they declare him out for the season? We'll see if any information comes to pass about that before the game today. I haven't heard anything else about that in the interim, though Red addresses it somewhat in the conversation that we will hear later on, in that we don't know. Red, in that conversation on Thursday, maybe he was going to know something that afternoon or yesterday. We'll see. I would imagine post-game, if we know anything about that. Of course, the full post-game coverage will be right here, as always, on ESPN Radio and Cuse Sports Talk, with Red's full post-game press conference live. So if and when that news comes out, it will happen right here, and we will bring it to you directly. But nothing immediately on that front in a Harding and Mazzotti injury report today with Donnie Freeman, but we'll see what percolates over the course of the next hour or so. For Boston College, today's opponent, their center, Chad Venning, was banged up. He missed the last game earlier this week, so we'll see if he is back out there today. But with that, welcome in, one and all. Here we are for the next hour. Lots to talk about, as always, with Syracuse basketball on this Saturday afternoon. Just 3 Saturdays remaining for Dome games this year. Today, next week against North Carolina, then early March when Virginia is in town to wrap up the regular season. March 8th, I do believe that is. There are some weekday games in the Dome sprinkled in as well. So we are somewhat here in the home stretch of the Orange basketball regular season. And today is a thing that, my goodness, hopefully we're not talking about when we get to that Virginia game, which is 1 month from today. 1 month from today, the regular season ends. And 1 month from today, Syracuse will be playing Virginia in the Dome. And my goodness, how many excellent and epic and disappointing and discouraging and running the gamut meetings there have been over the years in the ACC between Syracuse and Virginia, with Virginia being the winningest program in the league alongside Duke over the last decade, having won a national championship in the last 5 years, and Syracuse beating him in the 2016 Elite Eight, and all the stuff we know about the history of Syracuse, Virginia. One time this game meaning so much it was the season opener when the league went to 20 games a few years ago, and we sit a month out from that game, potentially determining if one or the other makes or does not make the ACC Conference Tournament this year, which puts a lot here for Syracuse on today, this afternoon against Boston College, who right now is one of the teams in position to miss the ACC Tournament, and Tuesday, when Syracuse will head south to warmer climates, so it's actually not a bad little midwinter day out, just ticked up to 30 degrees a few minutes ago here in the Cuse, but Miami on Tuesday. Miami's 1-10 in the league. Boston College today. Boston College is 2-9 in the league. NC State is 2-9 in the league. They are the bottom three. Right now, season ends today. Those are the three teams that will not participate in Charlotte for the ACC Conference Tournament. Right now, those are the three teams. But Virginia and Syracuse are two of the three teams that are right after that with 4 conference wins right now. Notre Dame also has 4 conference wins. They are part of a CW doubleheader right now. They are at the half with a 7-point lead, wearing very green jerseys at home over Virginia Tech right now in front of my face. So they're trying to get up there. We know Syracuse has split the season series with Notre Dame. The Orange's only game with Virginia comes 1 month from this evening. That's an 8 o'clock Saturday night tip in the Dome. So these are not the intrigue. This is not the interesting stuff we normally like to talk about, right, in these shows. We usually like to, man, we're coming up on this big matchup and all this, and it's, this is for, where can you climb to in the conference and all that. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case this year. The intrigue this year is not where can you climb to, it's where can you climb out from. Can you escape the bottom of the league? And I don't know if the nation, actually I do know, the nation does not have their eyes on the Dome today. Like, this is not a game of national importance. But for Syracuse, the next 2 games, if you can win them and get up to 6 wins in the league, okay, you've kind of removed yourself, one would think, from this conversation. And we can move on to other things for the rest of the year. If you lose one of these 2 games, you're thrust back toward it for sure. And God forbid if you lose both of these 2 games, oh my, you are right in the thick of something that you don't want to be a part of. So these 2 games against Boston College today and on the road at Miami on Tuesday, while they are not ringing the bell nationally, they are vitally important to the stuff that we wish wasn't vitally important. I don't know how that balances out on levels of importance, but that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now. It's not where anybody wants to be at, but that is where we're at right now. Where Syracuse is at today is coming in off just an absolute drubbing. Now, what we can say is, considering who the drubbing was administered by, and that was by Duke on Wednesday evening in the Dome by a 29-point margin, that basically could have been whatever Duke was feeling like after they got cooking. Yeah, you don't want to lose by 29, that's bad. That said, if you want... if we can look on the bright side, the non-completely dark side of it, I don't know which side to look at it. Duke's doing that to basically almost everybody in the league. They are just annihilating everybody in their path this year. So while Wednesday stunk out loud and was not fun, which it did and it was not, it is basically the same experience that Duke is doling out to the entirety of the ACC so far this year, more often than not. Like North Carolina, their hated century-long blood rivals a week ago today. What was the score of that game at one point? It was like 40-17. I mean, they were smacking them around during that game. So they're doing that to everybody. They ended up winning that game by 17. You look at some of the recent scores. They beat Boston College a couple weeks ago by 25. They beat Miami by 35. I mean, they have some epic wins on the schedule this year. The Louisville team is probably the second best team in the league. They beat by double figures. So, yeah, you don't want to get smushed like Syracuse did on Wednesday. But on the list of disconcerting things that have happened this season, that's lower on the list than you'd probably like. You more look around and see the likes of, you don't want to be down 25-2 at Stanford. That was a week and a half ago. Things like that are more problematic in my eyes than getting just absolutely poleaxed by Duke, as Syracuse did the other night. Again, these are not great conversations to be having, but that is the state of things right now. So Syracuse comes in off the butt whipping on Wednesday. It was still in front of what I believe is going to hold up no matter what as the largest on-campus crowd in college basketball this season. They got into mid-23,000s on Wednesday night in the Dome. Unfortunately, that is probably also going to hold up as the largest on-campus college basketball crowd this season because others can't pass it, but Syracuse, I can't imagine, will either based on the remaining schedule, even with, including today, 3 weekend games left. So it'll be the smallest number that Syracuse has led the country with in quite some time. But Boston College here, they need a win as well coming in. They're 2-9. They're on a slide. They've lost 6 out of 7 right now. The Orange have lost 4 out of 5. This is not a matchup of teams that have really anything going for them. at the moment. BC did win last weekend by 1 against Florida State. They got absolutely hammered by Louisville earlier this week, as did the Orange by Duke. They went down to Louisville 84-58. You know, they've had some dispiriting losses here in recent weeks. An 18-point loss at Virginia, who's one of the worst teams in the league. They lost by 18 as well to Notre Dame, one of the worst teams in the league. Mentioned the Duke loss they had in there. They scored 96 at North Carolina and still lost the ball game up 102. So they are not on a great run right now, is Boston College. Of course, these teams played a month ago. It was a game Syracuse trailed much of the way before J.J. Starling let it come back in the second half and ended up winning down the stretch of that one. So this is a game where we'll get into the last meeting. This is another of these games here. Look at the games that don't involve Duke, Louisville, Clemson in this league. I guess SMU. We start stretching a little bit, Pitt. We really start stretching into it. North Carolina or Wake. Like, you're in these other games down toward the bottom of the league. You are out of sight, out of mind from the national conversation. But you are in just grinders of games where who knows what's going to happen when you look at, Cuse, Virginia, Boston College, NC State, Miami, Notre Dame, the likes of the bottom of the league. It's wild to look at the teams down here, too. Like, Notre Dame's not that far removed from Elite Eight. Virginia, 5 years removed from a national championship. The bottom two teams in the league right now, NC State was in the Final Four last year. Miami was in the Final Four 2 years ago. And my goodness, has it imploded in this league here this season in a way, realistically, that the ACC has never seen. Never. ACC has never seen anything quite like that. Duke's good. Yeah, everyone else is just kind of hanging out right now when we look at the league. So, important game today for Syracuse. Important game today for Boston College. Unfortunately, it's not what we like to do this time of the year, which is talk about important games for Syracuse that are actually important games on the national scene. And that is just not the case for the Orange at the moment. All right, let's take a break here on our pregame coverage. Come hang out in the chat. We're rocking along on Cuse Sports Talk, on YouTube, on Twitch. Get in there at CuseSportsTalk.com. Come hang out. We are there in the chat. Eyes on everybody there. People with us going up to the game and getting ready for the game here this afternoon. When we come back, we'll play back a little Red Autry for you from earlier this week, his weekly visit with Orange Nation. Get more into the Syracuse-Boston College series. We are almost to the anniversary of one of the more ugly to look at games in the history of the series. Keep an eye on the injury report. Our daily Donnie Freeman's not playing update will likely drop at some point during our hour together today. Phone lines open as well if you'd like to partake here. 315-437-7644. We're with you up until about 3. We'll turn you loose for 15 minutes. We'll watch the game at 3:15. Listen to the game on TK99. Reconvene hereafter for our post-game coverage. We'll step aside for a few. Back at it next year on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
Syracuse.
Oh, chat. What's up? You beat the traffic bowling ball. Congratulations. What's up, Jet? Yes, still no Downey update, Joe. That's the thing about the bottom of the league, CBW. 4 wins isn't great, but it's also shockingly not terrible. What's up, Rita? I like how bowling ball is now destined to be stuck in traffic for the rest of time. I don't know, Paul, why this city? Because wearing a giant city tomorrow would be silly and sad. Yeah, I have no idea what kind of crowd they're going to get today. For it being the middle of February, it's actually nice out. 30 degrees, not shocking gusts to the face. Over under 14.5 actual bodies. Man. I think he's just hurt, Alpha Big Guy, but I don't know what the weight is. Syracuse is a 7.5 point favorite, CBW? No, I don't feel good about that. I mean, they only won by 8 the last time. I wouldn't feel good about Syracuse laying 7.5 against anybody. I wouldn't touch that one with a 20-foot pole. That's what's crazy about this league. Like, if Syracuse can beat the other crap teams in the league, they could avoid playing on Tuesday. But if they lose to the crap teams, they'll miss the tournament altogether. It is a ridiculous league. Let's see. Is anybody reporting anything? What is Mike Waters up to? The Dave parlay, the Dave single bet parlay. That was amazing. I love the Dave single bet parlay. Carl. We love you, Carl Mintz. Love you, Carl. Yeah, I say hopefully this stays the worst it gets, SL. Hopefully this is the bottom. What are you, Alphabet Guy? It could be a delightfully insane few minutes. Carl Mintz, the Kanye West of Syracuse basketball. Oh, yeah. We're nowhere near that, Philly's Most Wanted. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. I will text Paulie. Paulie's in the building.
Go.
That it is. Here we are, rolling along. We're a little bit off on our timing here today because I blame the CW. Like, why would a basketball game start at 3:15? I don't know, but it does. But we started our pregame show at 2. Why? That's a good time. That's a good, strong start time for things. Right at the top of the hour. Let you know we're here till about 3, and we'll give you time to collect yourselves before watching or listening to the game today. If you're heading up to the Dome or whatever you are up to here on this quite lovely, actually, a 30-degree Saturday afternoon here, early February in the Cuse. Super Bowl is tomorrow, a game you can listen to right here on ESPN Radio in the Cuse. Of course, right after the end of the women's basketball game tomorrow, we'll fill up our airwaves as Tim Leonard will have Syracuse and Wake Forest for you at 2 o'clock tomorrow. He had lax last night over on TK. They annihilated Vermont. Had some highlight-worthy goals. My goodness. If you haven't seen some of the goals last night from the lacrosse game, go find them. In the 15 minutes between our pregame and the start of the game, just do that. Go Google kooky lacrosse goals from Syracuse from yesterday, and you will see some stuff. But right now we're focused on basketball. We're getting you ready for Syracuse and Boston College at 3:15 today in the Dome. It's a repeat of a game a month ago out in Chestnut Hill. A repeat of a game that Syracuse did trail in the second half, but did end up pulling away and winning by 8. But we'll start now by looking back at the Duke game a bit and advancing through the many topics of the week. Adrian Autry, as he always does, visits with Orange Nation on a weekly basis, brought to you by Oswego County Mutual. And here is this week's conversation that he had with our guys Steve and Paulie.
Coach, we're talking about this Duke team, and they're obviously very, very good. It's not just Cooper Flagg. Like, we look at him and say, well, they've got the number 1 overall pick in the draft, but it's more than that. What is the biggest challenge, and what was the biggest challenge last night for your team in preparing for and then facing, that team that has now won 16 games in a row?
Obviously, you talk about Cooper Flagg, who is the headliner. But like you guys said, I mean, overall, they are a very talented team. They surrounded him with a lot of great pieces. They got shooting, they got shot blocking, they have playmakers. And I think, if you try to really kind of shut him down, you let those other guys get loose. And some of those guys, especially Knuppel and Proctor, and James, you let those guys get going, they can make a ton of threes. So, it's really hard to kind of key in on him. They just got a very balanced team.
I was going to ask you about your offense last night in Jair Davis. It looked like he got good looks last night and made shots. Moving forward, could we see more of that out of him? Like, if you can do it against Duke, you can probably do it against anybody, right? Yeah,
Jair is a talented guy. He's very good in the mid-range area, which is, a place that we try to get him the ball. We thought, for that Duke game, we know that they switched a lot, and we thought if it was any kind of advantage, try to, get a couple of things, a couple of movements to get him the ball in places and then see if they would, help off. They just let him play. So, he made his shots, but we didn't get a lot of the other shots that we wanted from them. But, Jair's a good player, he's talented. We got to try to keep him involved right now. Yesterday, we struggled to score, but obviously he got some things going for us. And the last couple of games, he's not scored. So we need him to score. We need him to be a part of the offense. Moving forward for these last 8 games, down the stretch.
I do want to ask you about Naheem McLeod. I mean, he hadn't played more than 5 minutes all season long, and then against Cal, he saw 9 minutes. Did some good things against Cal. And then played 22 minutes last night, 10 points, a perfect 4 for 4 from the field. What were you seeing from Naheem, I guess, in practice? What led to those extended minutes against Cal, and what have you liked, with the way he's used those minutes these last 2 games?
Obviously, he's done a really good job of getting more assertive and aggressive. We saw that in practice. He's had some really good practices over the last week or so, and practice is important. And then in the game, the Cal game, I just thought he he got some rebounds. He finished around the basket. He got off his screens. I think even last night, I think the biggest difference is that when we set those screens, he really got off of them, and he made the back line kind of converge a little bit, which allowed us to get a couple of reverse passes and some shots up, and that was key for us. And again, so I thought that was really what we needed, and I think going forward, if he can continue to do what he's doing, he's going to help us down these last stretch.
I do have to ask you about Malik Brown. He comes in last night and he does what we all got used to seeing Malik Brown do, right? A couple of rebounds, a couple of points, a couple of blocks, steals. I mean, he just kind of does it all. Just curious to get your thoughts on kind of, seeing him on the opposing bench. And you recruit a kid, you bring him in, you work with him for a couple of years. I'm sure you get close to him, you get close to his family. What is that like for you as a coach to, see one of the guys that, you had worked with on the opposing bench? Mixed emotions type of thing, Coach?
No, I'm trying to win. I'm not thinking about that. That's not crossing my mind. But also, when the game's over with and, you move on and you get back to life, and trying to, move on to the next day. Obviously, Malik was great here. I remember when Shia called me and he asked me about him, and I just said he's great. He says there's no issues, there's no problems, and he called me back again. He's like, "You sure?" And I go, "I'm 100% sure. Trust me. He's a great young man, and this is just the time that we're in, and so." Malik's a class act. He's always been a class act, quiet young man, hard worker, does all the things. I think he's a basketball coach's dream, a guy that's selfless, all about the team and does all of the little things that help teams win. Just from a personal standpoint, our personal relationship, I can't think of another better young man that I've coached.
Let me ask you a question, Coach, about roster building here. The position of GM has come up a lot in our calls and chats lately. What is the GM's job to do for Syracuse University, and how much has it changed what you have to do in season also this year to have a guy in the GM position?
Well, I think everyone has a different role and how they want to use that position. I know for us, Alex Klein is very involved in. He's going to be very involved and is involved in constructing the roster, helping us coaches construct the roster, evaluate talent throughout the whole year, and obviously NIL efforts, being able to help that. So again, it's different roles. He has a number of hats to wear, but obviously, being able to put a roster together, to be able to put different things in place for us, from a talent evaluation part. I think we have the best GM in the country because he's done this before at the highest level. He was a big part of the rebuilding of the New York Knicks and talent evaluations and character and things that matter, not what not just kind of, we would say, falling into like empty calories or listening to, oh, this guy's ranked this or this guy's ranked that, really getting value and identifying players. And, again, last year we had to go to the portal the first time, and, this time around we'll be more prepared going to the portal, and he'll be a big help for us.
And the Malik Brown question made me wonder about this. How important is player retention? You see rosters just flipping over. Is that the main priority for Syracuse, is to retain players, or, is it to just...
I think you got to retain the right ones. You got to retain the ones that, are worth retaining. And it's unfortunate because that's not what college is supposed to be about, but that's the situation that we're in right now. And so you got to really, who's going to align with what you're doing, who can, who knows who's going to be able to help and impact the program going forward. So I think you got to, retain the right ones. Just to retain someone and to have a roster and you retain them, and, you're not getting better. You're always trying to get better, and that's what we're trying to do. So you got to retain the right ones.
And along those lines, let me follow up on that. Are those conversations, Coach, going on during the season with the actual players, here and there, as they kind of check in and you check in with them? Or is that something that you strictly, you play out the year and then it's almost like an exit interview type thing, season's over, and then you talk about those things?
Yeah, we finish out the year, still a lot of season left. And again, we have to finish this season. You can't have these conversations. You can't have these these discussions as the season is going on. Those are things like, that you can't have. It's a lot of emotions. You still got games to play. And we have this final stretch of games that we got to be ready to play and win and compete against and win, and then go to the tournament and see what happens. Once the season is finally over with, then we'll start to have those discussions.
I know you're probably tired of us asking, but just doing our job here. You referred to Donnie Freeman on Monday, and you said you thought within this next week that there might be a decision one way or the other. Where does that stand right now? I mean, is there anything you can tell us about, where he is and if we're going to see him back in uniform?
I think we're in a situation right now, you guys, this is bad timing right now, but we'll probably have a more definitive answer in a couple of hours this afternoon. So we'll know if he's going to finish out the season or not finish out the season. So we should know something probably sometime this afternoon or tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you letting us know about that. It's something that's come up on the show today is, and Coach, listen, I know that fans are frustrated. Do you have any sort of message to the fans right now with where things stand right now? As you said, 8 games left to play. You're going to finish out the year, and guys are going to try to win as many games as possible. What would be your message to the fans, right now following last night's loss?
My message to the fans is that yes, we are going to finish up and try to win every game that we compete and play against. Obviously, this is not where we want to be, and I understand your frustration. But, better days are ahead, and I can promise you that. Everything has changed right before our eyes, and no one really knew once everything happened with this change, with the transfer portal, the freedom, and then the NIL thing. I think, everyone is trying to get a grasp of it, and I'm very confident that we have a handle on everything, and we are moving in the right direction. But this season is not over with. We're going to still finish this season out. We have not packed it in. That's not the type of coach I am, not the person I am. I'm from this community. And I think I want people to understand I've probably spent, more than half my life in this community, living, close to it. And so I understand it, and I'm frustrated, and I'm just as frustrated and disappointed, and more than anybody could say on social media or anything like that. But the one thing I'll say is this team loves to be here. I love being here, and we're going to continue to push, and we're going to get better, and we're going to finish this season out strong. And, again, better days are ahead of us. I can promise you that. And I don't make a lot of promises. I can promise you that.
That was read from Orange Nation a couple of days ago. Obviously, a lot of talk about Donnie Freeman there. The magic of timing. I think we hit play on the interview like 4 seconds before this news dropped. And I'm not exaggerating. It might have been 3 seconds before this news dropped. There's a statement out from the Syracuse basketball program regarding, Donnie Freeman. Quote, after further evaluation and consulting with his family and team physicians, Donnie Freeman is scheduled to have a procedure done next week that will sideline him for the remainder of the season as he focuses on his recovery. While his presence on the court will be missed, Donnie's health and well-being are our top priority. We expect him to make a full return to basketball and will support him throughout his recovery process. Orange Nation wishes Donnie a speedy recovery. Go Orange. Okay. So we officially have the info that Donnie will be out for the year with the surgery. Obviously, he's been in the walking boot on his right foot for the last month. Last game he played was against Florida State, the game that J.J. Starling returned. So Syracuse, when you look at their guys, there's 2 McDonald's All-Americans on the team. J.J. Starling and Donnie Freeman, 2. They've played 1 game together since November. Not that things were going great before then, but when your 2, in theory, most talented guys have shared the court for 1 game since November, it's a part of where things are at right now. So hopefully surgery, whatever he's got to get done, will fix the issue. And then we begin the waiting game. I think many within the program, it sounds like, expect Donnie back here next year. Obviously, things ain't as simple as that in college sports anymore. When the transfer portal is available, when NIL is available, when a guy of Donnie's stature, now, is he a first-round draft pick anymore? Probably not, but, if he decides school ain't for him, he'd get picked in the NBA draft. We look back at the Chris McCullough situation. From going back now, how many years ago was that? That was 8 years ago, back in 2017. So, where's McCullough, 2015? The years blend together. It was a long time ago when Chris McCullough got hurt. But it's going to be an interesting situation to see what Donnie does this year. He's boys with Sadiq White. They played together in high school. Does that influence anything? I have no idea. But this is going to be yet another part of the intrigue that Syracuse will be dealing with going into the offseason, of looking at this roster, who's going to be back next year, how the program deals with it from the inside, how the transfer portal is involved, and my goodness, even though we're not going to be talking about legit basketball for most of March when it comes to the tournament or any of the stuff we like to talk about, when the portal opens the day after the second round of the NCAA tournament ends, there's going to be a lot of this stuff swirling around that will need our full undivided attention for sure. With that, we'll take a break. More thoughts on Donnie done for the year officially when we come back. Your calls, if you'd like, at 301-543-7644. And we continue getting you ready for Syracuse and Boston College, a 3:15 tip today inside the Dome. As we're back after this, it's Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Well, like, whoever is just assuming he's gone is just, like, I don't know what's going to happen, but it sounds like within the program right now, they are working under the assumption he will be back next year. So think otherwise if you'd like, but, you know. If he has something like a stress fracture or something in his foot or whatever he's dealing with, if he wants deep divers, he played. I mean, he's got better numbers in just about the same amount of games as Chris McCullough did that year. Like, I don't think he's going to go to the draft. And McCullough was a first rounder and obviously a little bit different player, but he's got better numbers and played the same amount of games, give or take, as McCullough. Yeah, that's why I'm not guaranteeing it either way, CBW. Like, anybody that on February 8th right now is stone cold certain what Donnie Freeman's going to do is wrong. How about that? Anybody that knows what's going to happen next year with him right now is wrong. Because how could you? Yeah, he was also a freshman, Jake. Yeah, he wasn't Carmelo. We do need that type of player, Jake. Yep. Well, do you want to come back because he chose to play here for this staff? Is friends with the players? I don't know. Yeah, like for the people crapping on Donnie, yeah, obviously his defense was a mess. Clearly he was hurt. But, like, he has a lot to learn. He didn't come in. He wasn't Carmelo. Like, his crime is he wasn't Carmelo Anthony. That's a lot of people's crimes. Like, he averaged 13 and 8. Like, he's clearly talented. Like, if you don't think he's a talented basketball player, I don't know what to do for you. He also clearly has lots of room for improvement. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's mentally checked out on his teammates. But he was faking his injury and the whole thing. Whatever we're saying. Because there's more shots to go around at a blue blood, Kenny Payne? Why would he get more shots at a team that has better players around him? Those two things, like 1 + 1 = 17 in that math. Yeah, if he leaves for more money, like, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. But why would he get 10 at Kentucky if there's more talented players there? Why wouldn't he get 6 at Kentucky and 10 at Syracuse? Like, look at Malik Brown this year. Like, if that's what you want, he's getting paid at Duke. He's on a better team, but he's really important to them. But his numbers are down across the board because he doesn't get as many minutes, as much time. Yeah, if he leaves for more money somewhere, okay, like that's what happens. Like, so be it. Okay, rolling along here on a Saturday. Well, here we are. It's February 8th. We've learned officially within the last 20 minutes that Donnie Freeman is done for the season. He'll have a procedure done to correct whatever ails his right foot here in due time. Harding Mazzati injury report there. And now everybody is 100% certain what Donnie Freeman is doing next. It's amazing how fast that happens. I'm not 100% certain what Donnie Freeman is doing next. I would guess Donnie Freeman's not 100% certain what Donnie Freeman's doing next, though only he would know. But the world is full of experts of certainty of what Donnie Freeman's doing next. He's transferring to Duke, Kentucky, NIL, pro. I don't know what he's doing next. I could sit here and argue any of the options any way I feel like it. If you tell me Donnie Freeman's going pro, I'd say, okay. Like, realistically, he's probably a second-round draft pick right now, but look what Judah did last year. He's like, I want to be a pro basketball player. He knew that second round was his best. He didn't get picked. Now he's in the G League. Like, if Donnie says, I want to go pro, that's what I want to do, okay. Best wishes. Donnie Freeman right now today in a similar-ish situation to what we saw with Chris McCullough a decade ago, has played 2 fewer games than Chris did and actually has somewhat significantly better college stats that Chris McCullough did at the same point of a year. So if you want to say that, okay. If you want to tell me that Donnie Freeman's going to hop in the portal and go to the highest bidder, all right, I'll believe that. A lot of people do that these days, and I'm sure even though he's hurt and his season didn't quite explode in the way some of us hoped, though it was, I think, better than a lot of people thought, I'd believe that. Why? A lot of people do that in college basketball these days. If you tell me he's going to come back to the school where clearly he's friends with the guys, you can feel that by just observing the games. Like, he's been hurt, but he's still connected there. You can see that on the sideline of games. He played high school basketball with Sadiq White, who's coming in next year at IMG. They are tight and have both stated out loud previously they'd like to play together. If you tell me, and for all of you say that, he's going to leave because of Red, he was recruited here with Red as the head coach. So, okay, he liked it at one point. So I could argue that. I could argue any of them any way I feel like right now. So anybody that is 100% certain about what Donnie Freeman is doing next, all right, good luck. Tell me the lottery numbers as well. That would be more useful to us right now. We can at least make a few bucks and donate it to NIL and then secure Donnie Freeman's return next year. Am I right? If we're going to be certain about something, let's go cash some checks on that thing. But I don't know. Wishing him the best. Clearly, toward the end, he was playing in pain. The fact that he's undergoing surgery, let's phrase it this way: wherever Donnie Freeman is playing basketball next year, if he is healthy. We spent all of this scene saying, man, this guy's defense, not good. More than none of it was probably injury-related. Well, I need to see a healthy Donnie Freeman, though, to understand what ratio of that would have been injury-related. Because you look at the guy physically, athletically, you'd think he would have been a very useful, at minimum, help defender inside, secondary rim protector type of thing, be able to elevate and get some chase down blocks, things like that. We just didn't see any of that all season long. Is that injury-related? Is that desire-related effort? I don't know. So whether it's at Syracuse, somewhere else in college, if we want to lock in on some G League tape, I don't know where he's going to play basketball next year. But for he had a terrible season, waste of talent crew. Like, he's second in the league in double doubles or in freshman in the league, right? In double doubles to Cooper Flagg. I think they were tied. They might still be tied, actually. He had 6 on the year. He's averaging like 13 and 8, 13 and 7. Like, it's a solid year. Was he Carmelo Anthony? No. I get it. He was the highest rated recruit since Carmelo. But no, he was not Carmelo Anthony. That's been a lot of people's biggest crimes around here, it feels like, in the last 20 years, that they have not been Carmelo Anthony. Well, it would be nice to have a Carmelo Anthony. That's they don't fall off the tree very often, quite like they did with Melo. But we're wishing Donnie the best. It's a season where He's a quiet guy. You hear interviews, you didn't really hear him a lot, a little, but he wasn't out there all over the place. It feels like we haven't really gotten to know him as a player, as a guy very much at all. But hopefully he'll be back next year. But to say we have any clue here with a month left in the regular season today, I think would be foolhardy at best. All right, let's get a little This Day in SU basketball history brought to you by Shep Family Funeral Home. Celebrate your loved one with help from Shep. Visit shepfamily.com. All-time series now after Syracuse's win a month ago in Chestnut Hill stands 59-27 in favor of Syracuse. The Orange have won 19 of the 23 ACC meetings all-time. Obviously spent many years together in the Big East, and even more years than that just being located not that far apart as the schools remain the same distance apart. The Orange won at Boston College last time out by 8. It was 79-71. JJ had a big game that day with 26. Lucas Taylor had a nice day with 15. Jair Davis had a nice day with 12. Eddie Lampkin had a double-double in that game. Kyle Cuff had 10 points in the last 8 minutes of the game. Was a huge part of rallying from 8 down in the stretch. So we'll see if the Orange can repeat the performance again coming up today, 3:15 tip time in the Dome, and get their second win against Boston College this year. And just if you're in the mood for one of the just like what the heck just happened days in Syracuse basketball history, may I transport you back 11 years ago? 11 years and a couple weeks ago. This was February 19th of 2014, where Syracuse came out wearing jerseys that went together. Yeah. Orange tops and navy shorts as Syracuse took the court at 25-0 against Boston College in a game where Fab Melo was... Well, that wasn't the Fab Melo year. This was a game where Syracuse was undefeated, 25-0. This was 2 games after the Tyler Ennis shot at Pittsburgh. Orange top script jerseys, similar to what they're wearing now. Navy blue shorts. Looked like Syracuse got dressed in the dark that day and ended up losing their first game of the season by the score of 62-59 in overtime. And those games, or those jerseys, that jersey combination has been banished to history, never to be seen again. Never to be seen again. And realistically, that season started slipping from there. They were 25-0 at the point, kind of slid to a 3 seed in the tournament, and then went out in the in the second round to Dayton that year. Was that the Dayton loss? And that takes us to now. That was 11 years ago, about a week and a half from now, as we look at our This Day in Orange history, brought to you by Shep. With that, we'll take our final break of our pregame coverage, come back, give you our final thoughts, get you ready for Cuse and Boston College today. Little different pregame format today. We're with you 2 to 3, the 3:15 tip in the Dome today. Watch it on the CW. Listen, of course, on TK99 and our AM signal, ESPN 1200. We step aside for a few. Back next year with more on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
Today.
So you don't want players like JJ, Tusi? What are you saying no about, Pat? No, Brian. I haven't looked recently, Joe, but they're not good. He's barely playing, right? Yeah, but you still don't want to get rid of good players, Tusi. Like we're seeing this year, if you have JJ as the best player on your team, obviously you got a ceiling. You still need like good players on your team. He's still good. Huevos Ranchero. It's 2:48 in the afternoon, Gavendo. Can they like Ranchero up a breakfast burrito? Can you get like a combination? You're fun, Tusi. We should hang out more. What are the breakfast? I do like a breakfast burrito. I like anything burritos. I think the tortilla wrapped around stuff is underrated in non-Mexican operations. Don't do it, Pat. Other Pat. Don't do it. I will lose it. That's a hell of a question, T-Takes. I mean, clearly the announced attendance will be like around 19 or 20. Actual butts in seats? That's a hell of a question. Oh, man. Still rather have him on the team than not next year, 2C. Like, where are you going to get magical other players to replace all these people? Oh, man. Like, will they all be on the team next year? But if you told me JJ and Chapa and Cayenne and Sadiq and Donnie are all on the roster next year, I feel a little better about life. It's probably fair, CBW, setting the actual butts and seats total at 14.5. Yeah, Phil, it's wild. It's just... When is the weather starting tonight? Like, you're allowed to have both of them on the team, too. See, I hear that's allowed, to have more than one player. I mean, I'm all for the 75 team. I don't think them being honored really is going to affect attendance one way or the other. Shout out to them, though. They deserve to be honored. 7? All right, let's bump back a little bit than when I looked yesterday. Yeah, I mean, great for the set. Like, good for them. I'm happy for them. I love me some Jimmy Lee. He's the best. All right, back at it here on this Saturday. A few more minutes with you on pregame, and then we'll hunker down for a few and get you ready for Cuse and Boston College coming up at 3:15 today. What do we got here? There's 5 minutes and 49 seconds in this Virginia Tech Notre Dame game on the CW. It's Notre Dame 52, Virginia Tech 50. The fun of when your games are on the CW is they don't have a second place to put the games, or like any good way of streaming the games that's easy to actually look at. So if there's an overrun of the game before your game, you just get angry and like throw things and yell at the TV and like, what's going on? This is, what was the game was it the Wake Forest game? The Orange have been on the CW before this year, and like the game started and Syracuse was down many points before it was actually on television. So hopefully this Virginia Tech Notre Dame game plays out smoothly, or if you're on your way up to the Dome, your travels go smoothly as well, as you've got a little bit more than 20 minutes to get butts in seats for tip time today. I haven't mentioned yet on the pregame show, the 1975 first Syracuse Final Four team is being honored today at halftime. Jimmy Lee and crew, so that'll be awesome. Syracuse.com had a picture the other day of Jimmy elevated like at the top of his jump, just about to release the jump shot that sent them to the Final Four that year in the win against North Carolina. So really cool that they get honored today. 50th anniversary of them going to the Final Four. The forgotten-ish group. Like, we all know what happened, but it was before Boeheim was the head coach. I know he was on the staff. It was before the Big East. The eras just didn't quite connect to the modern era. It was right before, requiem for the Big East and everything that went on in that 30 for 30, which I happened to be watching part of earlier. So it's fresh on top of mind. So cool for them to be honored at the Dome here today. Okay, what else do we got? Keys to the game today here. Again, our Harding and Mazzotti injury report. Donnie Freeman officially out for the season. He hasn't played in a month. I'd say this is exactly what we've been expecting. Finally got the official words from doctors, Donnie's camp. Everyone has made the decision, ruled him out for the year. We'll have a procedure done, it sounds like, soon, within the next week or two. Has been in that right foot walking boot for a while now, so wishing him the best, and we'll be waiting to see what happens with his offseason going forward. Many eyes will be on that for sure. As far as today's game, 79-71 a month ago, Syracuse won by 8, but it was a game that Syracuse did actually trail. They were down by 8 midway through the second half, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is about to be just a dreadful, miserable, really unfortunate loss for the Orange today out in Chestnut Hill. But J.J. Starling got it going. He had 26 in the game. And that was one of the first games of like this Kyle Cuff renaissance here of late. Cuff had 10 points in that game. They all came in the last 8 minutes of the game. So he came on late and had some moments. J.J. had a game, and the game kind of turned with those two specifically started attacking the rim. So we'll see what lessons from that game will apply for today as Syracuse gets ready to take on Boston College. And again, you look at this league, we know this. Syracuse isn't in a great spot. They got 4 wins in the league. They're sitting just 2 wins clear of third to last place, a.k.a. missing the ACC tournament. Boston College is the team right behind them in that spot. You don't want to give them a game back, nor Miami, who's coming up on Tuesday, with them only having 1 win in the league. That said, what's crazy, and we don't really look this way because it just hasn't really felt like it, Syracuse is sitting on 4 wins in the league. I can get you into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can get you into 8th with a win today. I can move you into a tie for wins in the league with Pitt and Virginia Tech and Cal and Florida State and Georgia Tech at 5 wins in the league if you win the game today. Like, that's how just the league is right now. That as much as we are calling the bottom of the league, it's a mess, and the whole thing, it is not great, and we know that one of these teams at the bottom, whoever beats the other stinky teams in the league, you're suddenly going to end up being like the 7th or the 8th seed in the ACC tournament. Like, we're going to be looking at that tournament when it starts in a little bit more than a month and being like, that team's 7th. How did that happen? It could be Syracuse. It could be Boston College if they catch a fire here down the stretch. It's a very strange situation with the league right now. So we'll see how it goes here today. Go check out TK99, ESPN 1200 to listen. The CW for the TV. Who's on the call today? I think I saw Evan Lepler popping up on the screen earlier doing a little teaser at halftime of this Notre Dame game. So we'll see what goes on with that. And then when the game is over, right back here. Come join us. Your calls. Phone lines will be open for an hour or so after the end of the game today. Red Autry's full post-game press conference is always brought to you by Romano, and we will put the full recap on the second meeting of the year between Syracuse and Boston College. All right, disperse. Enjoy the game, everybody. We're about 20 out from the opening tip. We'll reconvene back here after on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
This is